I'll be showing you the life of a Lego minifigure from the future versus the past, with a crazy ending battle and an intense Western duel.
Shh, bro, it's so cool. It's just like the movies. Let's go.
But first, we're gonna start at the futuristic minifigure named Riker. He lived in a modern mansion. It came with a beautiful library, a master suite, a kitchen, and a living space. Josiah, on the other hand, lived in an old Western fort called Legretto. Or is it Legoretto? I think we'll just stick with Legretto. The fort is fortified with a large wall and 4 guards at all corners of the fort. They also have a stash of weapons for each habitant in the fort. But then all of a sudden, they were both born. And Riker, he lived in an AI world where everyone was AI and robot, and there's barely any humans. And there is only a handful of humans left on the Earth, and he is one of them. So then Riker had to learn how to walk from his dad because all robots know how to walk already. And his favorite thing to do was to swim. Unlike you and me, his best friends were robots, and they didn't even like to swim because of all their circuit boards. They didn't even like a drop.
Don't splash me.
Josiah's parents made sure to teach him how to walk at a young age so he can be fit and ready for future jobs around the fort. And one of his favorite jobs were tending the horses. And the reason was he simply just really liked horses. And he really wanted to learn how to ride one. So it took him some time, but he had to practice to ride a horse. At first it was hard, but eventually he got it. And sooner than later, he was riding the horse full speed around the fort. And back then, kids would often make up stuff like sports or maybe even a tag game to pass the time. And one of the other big things he really liked to do was to go on adventures. So him and his buddies went on a little trip through the desert. But they found something very interesting, an old military suit from a long time ago. And so Josiah decides to put it on, and he looks actually pretty good. So they decide to go back to the fort, and while they're going back, they decide to make a plan that will change the fort's life forever. Now, back in Riker's time, the world isn't doing too well, and whenever the robots saw a human, they would say or do something really mean to them.
You are a very stinky, poopy person.
And in his time, it was completely okay to shoot or disable a robot since there weren't any humans. But if a robot military worker saw a human, then they were programmed to exterminate him. And this made Riker and his dad super mad and sad at the same time. He was so angry, he was going to eradicate every single robot and restart humanity. And his plan was to... So Josiah and his buddy's plan was to go trade for some jewels in exchange for some furs. But little did they know something horrible was going to happen at their fort because of this trip. But it was a very long trip, so the boys had to camp out and set up a fire and chill there for the night. But the boys had to keep going. It couldn't last for long. So they packed up their stuff, got onto the carriage, and headed off. They traveled day and night to get to this fort, and this is how they did business with other forts back then. But after lots of traveling, they finally got to Fort Odoragel. And this was basically their cousin fort, and it was made almost exactly like their fort. Almost identical. But they got up to the fort, and they got greeted very nicely. May we propose a trade deal with y'all?
Yes, come in.
And in they went. They brought all their trades, their goods, and their furs for a bunch of good stuff in return. They got lots of jewels, some weapons, as if they don't have enough, and set on their way. But while they were traveling back, something else was happening at the fort. The guards are getting knocked off left, right, and center, but no one knows who or where it's coming from. Now Riker has become an adult, and now he's ready to execute his big plan of eradicating every single robot and helping humans restart. But he's been doing so much work, he decided to take a break and find a girlfriend. So he went on a trip looking far and wide for someone. But when he was going over a vast plain, he heard a voice.
Excuse me, sir. I'm looking for a boyfriend.
And those lines made a true love. So they got into the car and he said, I'm so happy, let's go have our wedding today. And so they went back to his home. So they got married and they had their dad do all the marriage stuff because there's no other people around to do it. Okay, now back to the plan. But they had to make sure to leave their mom out of it or else she would tell all the other robots. So basically, the plan was to go cut the wires and to make sure none of the robots can recharge at night. But the problem was, it was way out of the city, so they had to drive super far to get to where the power lines are. But they found it. So they had to quickly park the car and get their tools out and cut the power lines before the robots come. because when they cut it, robots will come to try to fix it, but they had to make sure to defend it and kill the robots. So they climbed the power lines to go cut it. And as they expected, right as they cut it, something happened in the city.
All workers and police officers report to 5572. There are 3 humans there. I repeat, there are 3 humans.
But since they're so far away, they didn't know for sure if the alarms were going, so they still took precautions and hid behind the mountain. And this is going to be a very important part in history. They have to save humans and restart them again. If that means stopping all the robots, then that means stopping all of them. And they were ready, and right in time. A truck was coming in the distance, and they could see they were ready for war. Lucky for them, that truck that they saw in the distance was Riker's uncle, and he came to join them in the war. Then he got set up, but right behind him was the robots and the workers. But they all had cover, unlike the robots. And then, fire! But not long after, a second fleet came, and they saw what happened and knew that they were going to shoot at them. And the robots were ready, shooting right back at them. And the robots aren't able to hit anything, and actually just one of them just nicked his ear a bit. And one more fleet arrived. The humans are absolutely dominating, and they're locked in. They're hitting almost every one of their shots. And they knocked out every single robot. Oh wait, what's to the right? The master robot. The robot that is the boss of every single robot in the city. He is unstoppable. At least that's what everyone thinks, since no one has stopped him. So he started going up, but no one saw him. He was super stealthy and had very long jumps. But eventually, he came up to the top of the mountain peak. But luckily, Riker's dad saw him and shot him down. But what's happening? Is he able to get back up? Their rocket launcher could not stop him, and he was heading straight for Riker's dad. So everyone turned and started firing at him, and all the firepower actually dropped him to the ground and killed him. And the humans won! And after that, human civilization actually went back to normal, and people were all alone by themselves again. Now they didn't have to deal with any annoying mean robots that forced and controlled their lives. Now heading back to Josiah's time, the person that actually got all the guards down was an outlaw, and he rode all the way to the fort. My bad, I didn't know, I accidentally made it look like he's on the moon. Anyway, by the time he got to the fort, Josiah was already there, and just pulling up. No one really knows this, but Josiah is one of the greatest marksmen of the West.
Shh, bro, it's so cool. It's just like the movies. Let's go. This is so cool.
Guys, be quiet, I'm focusing. Okay, boss. But while Josiah was distracted, he ran inside the fort, and he made sure to lock it right behind him so Josiah could not get in. And once he did, he said,
Everyone, put your hands where I can see it. Do not do anything silly. Give me your money.
But then, right as he was about to leave, Josiah comes in and saves the day. And then right away, they chained him up and put him into jail. And he's not coming out for a long time. And then right after that, Josiah actually finds a wife too. And she's a beautiful wife, if I say so myself. Okay, never mind. And they have multiple kids. And life goes on very well for the fort, and it actually becomes Washington, D.C. Alright, I just want to let you know that both of these stories are fiction, and they won't actually happen in real life. And if you're worried about the future segment, don't worry, because humans are way smarter than in the video. We would never let AI get out of control. By the way, the guy from the past is the great-great-grandpa of the guy from the Robber's Life video. So go watch it and tell me what you think.